All right, so let's move forward here. So we were able to, let's run one more time here. So now we have this good looking application, our FlashCard player. We are now able to load our card, right? And nothing happens again because, well, we haven't implemented that. So that's good. We are in a good spot. All right, so what we need to do next is actually implement the load file. Now, the idea here is to actually get the file and start reading the file. So the first thing we need to do is to instantiate our card list, okay, which is an array full of cards. Okay, it's array list. Of course, we just put here FlashCard, even though implicitly we know it's going to be a FlashCard. Of course, we are dealing with reading and writing, so we always have to put in a try catch block. That way we are safe. Next, we are going to use a buffer reader class, which again is better because it allows us to be more efficient with memory. So how do we do? Say buffer. Earlier we used buffered writer. Now we're going to use buffered reader. Okay, so we need the second one. And we're going to call this reader, of course. New buffer reader there. Of course, we have to pass in a file reader. So we say new file reader, and we have to pass the selected file, right? So this week, again, we are creating an object in which we're passing inside of a buffer reader because that's what it needs in order for things to work. Okay, so we're passing in the selected file, which in this case will be the text file that we've saved. So now this reader here is ready to roll. A temporary string that will hold what we're reading from our reader. So we're going to say string line. I'm going to set it to null, right? Now here we're going to say while. Okay, we're going to say line, which is the string here we created. Okay, is equal to reader that read line. So we're putting whatever we're getting from our reader here. As we get each line, we put inside of our line here. So we want this to happen until we've found a null. So again, we are going through this line here. We are saying, well, so the reader goes ahead and read each line inside of our file and then puts everything in our line here. So we're saying, while this is not null, while this is true, while there's still stuff inside of that file, that's good news. That means we have to keep reading, which means we have to make a card. So we say make card, and we pass in our line. Okay, essentially passing in the string. Now we haven't created this make line here, so which we'll do right now. There we go. There's our make line. I'm gonna pass in the string there. Let's call this line to parse. Better name. So our make card will go ahead and get what the reader threw at us, what the reader got from the file, and we put that inside of our string line here, right? So we're going to take that line to parse, and we are going to parse it, which means we're going to interpret it and cut where we need to cut and do all this stuff. Now remember that earlier I said that things, when we save questions and answer, we save it in this format here, right? So we have the question, and then we have the forward slash, and then we have the answer. So this all is just one line of string. So we need to figure out a way to parse, to interpret this, right? To differentiate the answer, the question from the answer. So that's what we need to do here. Okay, so I'll show you two ways to do this. The first way is this. We're going to create a string array, okay, call this result, okay, and we're going to take this line to parse, which is going to be whatever we are getting from our reader, from our text file, and we're going to split it, and we're going to split it into two parts. Right? So when you use the split method in any string, this is what happens. It returns a string, an array, a string array here, as you can see. In this case, we go like this, and we have to pass in where the splitting is going to happen. Right? Because what's going to do. If you go back, let me show you this here. So what's going to happen here, so what are we trying to do is to read all of this line here, and we want to differentiate the question from the answer. Okay, so what we're trying to accomplish here is say, hey, take this line here, and then whenever you find this forward slash here, stop there and put the left, whatever it's in the left is going to be a question, right? And we want to put that somewhere else in the array, and this whatever it's to the right, it's going to be the answer we want to put somewhere else in the array. So in this case, we're going to put this to the left on index 0, and inside of index 1, we're going to put the answer. So that's what we're doing here. That way the program knows what is a question and what is an answer. So in this case here, we're just going to put the forward slash there. Forward slash is perfect. Now this now in memory looks like this. We have our array, and the first part we have the question, right? Index 0, and index 1 we have the answer, which is great, good news for us, because now because we know this result is an array, we now know that the question is on index 0 and the answer is in index 1, I mean. Isn't that neat? That's amazing. I love it. And we did just that with one line of code. All right, so now what we can do, we can straight go like this. We can create a flashcard. We can say flashcard, card, new flashcard, and guess what? We know what the question is, right? So we can go ahead and say result. We know it's an array, and we pass in 0, right? So that's the question, and the answer, it's going to be the same result and on index 1. There we go. Now we have our flashcard created, which we know it has the question and the answer. And then we can go ahead and card list that add, we just add the card, okay, and just system.out.print, say made a card, just so we know. Okay, very simple. I mean, look at this, just a very small method here, just splits up the line, the string, okay, and then we find what's an answer and what's a question, and we put accordingly into a card and put that card inside of a card list, and we are done. Okay, so let's save this, give it a run. If you go file, load, let's go to one of the old cards. It's a quiz 2 here, like this, and look at that, made a card. So we know it's working. That's wonderful. Now, although this is fine, you can do it like this. That's totally fine. Let's do the second way. That's a little bit more modern and kind of gives us another way of doing things, right? So we're going to do the same thing. Now, in this case, we are going to use a different class called string tokenizer. So a string tokenizer class allows us to take a line of a string or a string and make little tokens. Essentially, everything that we did here, it's going to be the same thing, but it just allows us to have more of a cleaner way of doing things. So in this case, we're going to say string tokenizer. It's a class. Say result is equal to new string tokenizer. Remember, now we have to pass in here a string that we want to parse. In this case, it's going to be line to parse. And then the next thing, it's going to be what will be the delimiting item. In this case, it's going to be, again, forward slash there. Okay, so we're saying, so we have to pass the delimiting item. So where do you want to cut the string? And we have to pass the actual string here. Now this result here holds everything that we need from that string. Okay, so now we can go ahead and say if. Okay, we can say if result. That's the beauty of having a tokenizer, string tokenizer. We can now have a function that says dot has more tokens, right? That's when we go ahead and create a flashcard. So essentially all of this code here is going to be the same, except I'll have to change a few things. So let me, instead of result like that, we can just say result dot next token and result dot next token as well. Oh. All right, so essentially the same thing. It's just a different way of doing things, and we gained this method here that we can just allow us to iterate things through. Okay, so whichever way you want to do, it's gonna work the same. But I like this much better because it allows us to use the power of classes and things that Java is really good at, already has. Okay, now let's go back to our load file. So after our catch, actually, for our catch here, let's go ahead and add something. Say system. I'm gonna say couldn't read file. Okay, and probably say e.print stack trace. There we go. That's good enough. And right after here, what are we gonna do? Let's go ahead and gonna actually go ahead and show the first card. Okay, because when we load file, we just don't want to load the file. We'll actually go ahead and show the card, right? So we have the card iterator, so we can say card iterator is equal to card list dot iterator. So then we can say show next card, which we haven't created. So let's go ahead and create it now. Let's put it below here. All right, so show next card. What do we need to do for show next card? Well, simply, we are going to pull the current card, okay? Of course, it's type of FlashCard. We're gonna say card iterator, that next. So we are getting the next card in line, okay? And put in our current card. And then we're gonna use display that set text. Well, we say current card because we know this current card will have all the information for the current card. So that get question, okay? So we're taking the text from the card and put it in our display area. And then we say next, then say show answer that set text. We're gonna say here, show answer. Okay, so we're setting the text of the button show answer to show answer. Okay, and then here we're going to say is shown answer, set it to true. Okay, that way we know. So we're just raising a flag here to say if this is the case, we know show answer is true. So it's on, so we can do other things. Let's go to our next card listener. So this next card listener will listen to a few things. So here we are going to use the is show answer because that's what it's going to determine whether to show answer or whether they have seen the question. Okay, so what we're going to say if is show answer, right? If indeed it's true, the show answer, this means we need to show the answer because we know the answer needs to be shown, right? So we can say display that set text, we have to show the answer. So we're gonna go and fetch current card that get answer. Okay, and the next and the show answer that set text, we're gonna change the text to say next card. Again, once they've shown the answer, you click and shows the answer. We want to see the next card, right? That's why we're changing this to say next card. And then as we're here, we're gonna say is show again. We put it to false. That way, we mean we are moving forward to the next phase. Okay. Now, else, if that's not true, what do we need to do? We need to show the question, right? And show next question. So, which means we're gonna say if, again, another iterator here. So we're gonna say if card iterator that has next, right? If that card where we put all of the answers, all of the question and answers has more stuff in it, then, well, let's go ahead and show card and show next card. That's it. And if that's not the case, if this is not true, right? Meaning that our array list is empty, no more cards, we can say display that set text. We can say that was last card. And we're gonna say show answer button that set enable right? So we have this property here where we can set enable or disable buttons. So we're going to say false. In this case, this button, if there's no more card to go through, we're going to say, hey, that button there is just going to be disabled. So you can't click on it because there's no need to do that, right? Because everything is already red, or everything, the last card was red. Okay? Wonderful. So now let's go ahead and run this. Let's see. Say file, load. Let's just load the old one here. Hello there. See, show answer. There we go, and say next. That was the last card. Perfect. Why? Well, because there was no answers. There was no other cards there. Okay. Like that, we are done. Let's go ahead and create a new card. So I'm going to delete all of the old files that we've created earlier. That way we can test drive this thing. That's my favorite part. Okay. So let's go ahead and first of all, let's click on the card builder and run. We're going to build a card. Okay. So this one is going to be, let's go say, where's Mozambique located? Okay, we'll say Africa. Say next. One next question would be, do you like Java? Said yes, of course. Say next. What is today? Your lucky day. Lucky day. Say next. Who's your president? Barack Obama. Currently. Where do you live? In the USA. Next. Okay, so we created a lot of there. Let's save now. We're gonna put this in desktop. We're gonna say quiz 1 and save. Perfect. Now if we get out of here and let's go to our card player and run it. Oh, look at that. Now we can go ahead and say file, load, and go to where we saved. There's the quiz. There we go. The first thing that happens, it says loads the file right away. Okay. We have 5 questions, as you can see here. Make a card, make a card, make a card, because that's what we put in our system that out in our make a card function, right? So where's Mozambique? Look at this. So answer, Africa. So it's next card. Do you like Java? Show answer, yes, of course. Look at that, amazing. Next card, what is today? Your lucky day. Who's your president? Barack Obama. And where do you live? In the USA. That was the last card. Yes. Isn't that amazing? Now, this is very exciting. Think about it. When we started, we weren't able to create anything of this magnitude. Now we're able to create a flashcard player where you can add questions and we can save those questions in a text file, and then we can read those cards and answers and so forth. That's amazing. And look at this, right? Now you can't go anywhere because that was the last card, and that's exactly what we did in our code. We want this to happen. Wow, that is, if you're not excited about this, then I honestly don't know what excites you at this point, because this is really cool. I've always loved applications because, you know, you actually see what you're capable of doing with Java language here. And I really hope you're as excited as I am, even after years of programming. This is very cool to me. It will never change, okay? So great, congratulations, really, congratulations for getting this far. You know, I want you to look at this as a huge milestone if you were able to follow along and create this with me, okay? And again, as I always say, go ahead and play around with this concept. Break things, and if you have questions, ask questions in the forum, do some research, read more about all of this stuff, whatever you don't understand. I mean, this is not a passive kind of learning environment. You can't just sit and watch these videos and expect that you're going to be good at programming. That's never going to happen. So you have to be hands-on and actually work coding and all the stuff that we've been doing here in order to get better. Okay, so this is a big deal, and I'm glad you're still here. If you're still around, that's wonderful, and I'll see you in the next video. But again, congratulations. Okay, I'll see you next.